And there's some really fun things. So
Cool. Okay, awesome. Does anyone want to show off their stuff that hasn't been submitted?
uh,
I'm holding up my use. It wasn't Lord of the Rings, but I used the letters. And
that's great.
Jeanette,
Did you post that on Instagram?
I did post it on Instagram.
Okay, it looked familiar.
I see some Stewarts are holding something up. Let me. There you go.
Ah,
Nice.
I
That's
like that.
nice. That's nice. Cool. Anyone
I have
else?
one.
Oh, there.
Oh, very nice. I like
I
that.
had to do the, because we eat a lot at our house. I'm always doing food, so we had to do that one.
I love that.
Nice.
That's cute. What'd you do for the what about? Is that
Crayon.
Oh,
It's just
okay.
the flat end of a crayon. It was harder than I thought it would be because it's not all the way flat.
Yeah, crayon's a little tricky to write with. Could you show it again? I want to see the crayon a little close. Oh, okay. Very good. That's very creative. I've never seen crayon done like that before. Cool. All right, Jane.
Ooh.
You can see the tape behind. I'll take the tape off. Anyway, just some pointed pen. I did highlight them with gold, so they showed up a little more, and I shadowed all the letters, so they showed up more.
Beautiful.
Oh, that is beautiful. I love the vines by your tea.
Thanks.
Good job.
What color ink? Is that green ink that you're using or?
Yeah, it's just gouache, and it's the one I mixed for the Reggie class when we were doing that color thing. So it's just yellow green, you know, and I did add a little bit more blue in, but yeah, it's just a green. I did it once and it was too light, so I went over it, which I really hate doing, but I was really careful to go over it with the darker ink, and I was happier with darker ink
Right.
because it just was too light on the paper. Anyway, that was my homework.
With gouache, do you have to water it down more for pointed pen?
Well, you have to make sure it's plenty watered down, not too much, because then it gets too thin and it doesn't stay opaque on the paper. It's trial and error pretty much.
Okay, cool. Okay, that's good to know. Good to remember. Anyone else?
Kathy, here I come. I'm going to spotlight you, Kathy. You're still muted, though. There's Kathy.
Okay, how about that? Now can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Now can you hear me?
I can hear you, but you're froze.
But your mouth isn't moving.
Okay, well, I had foot surgery and I've been flat on my back for a month, and I thought I could sit at the table, but I haven't been able to sit here very long. So I do come and practice for just a minute, but I haven't been able to put it on good paper. And I'm just so happy to be here with my leg propped up.
What kind of surgery did you have?
Oh, it's too long of a story. I have 4 plates and 14 screws and 2 big incisions. It's just a mess. But it'll be 6 months before I can walk without a cast. And I haven't been able to put any weight on it, but I thought I could sit at the table and work. I thought, oh, this will be good, but I haven't even been able to sit. So anyway, you do what you do. And I didn't know about Liz. And Liz, I'm so sorry about your hip.
Okay, it's getting lots better. So the things do work
Great.
out. You just have to be
Good,
patient.
good, good. Yeah. Anyway, I have been practicing, but it's not on great paper. And Jane, you just do such beautiful things. You're inspiring.
That's true. She does.
I love her stuff.
Okay.
Cool. All right. Anyone else? This is a free form. We don't have a wall to tape everything.
I do have a question because this pointed pen by Kessig, I really like it, except the H. I do not like the H. So am I going to be arrested if I use the other H? I mean, I just don't know if I'm being true to him if I alter it.
Here's what
Is
I
that
say.
okay?
You're the artist holding the tool, Kathy.
Okay, because I just don't like those H's. I like the other H. So that's what I tried both to see, and I never liked the straight H. So
Yeah, as long as
Okay,
it's
that's
legible, you're the artist holding the tool.
yay.
Okay, anyone else? Should I show what I did, even though it's posted online? Okay, hold on. I gotta.
Fine, but you show it.
Okay, I cannot find my bookmark, and I was trying to work with stamps this time. I bought some embossing powder, so I'm going to try it out later. But I went through. I don't think I can show all this. I was inspired by lunch too, because I love to eat. Shut up. I got a guard dog, and so I went a little stamp crazy, and just kind of did the whole menu. And I saw something online that told me what time it was, and so I had to invent the numbers. I think I'll cut back on the stamps, but the stamps were a bit challenging. I bought the stamps at the fair, at the flea market that we had, so
Oh, good.
it was kind of fun. Fun little project.
Yeah, it looks good.
It's fun to be silly. I don't get that very often, so I do it when I can. Okay, let's see. This month we are doing Copperplate. That probably isn't a good time to do it because everyone seems to be getting married this time of year. I don't know. That's me. I was an August wedding, so. And so Jan is going to be teaching that. And let me give you the movies, and then you can take from the movies. There's 3 movies for this month. There's Emma, Jane Eyre, or Pride and Prejudice. And you can probably just do anything from that time period. BBC has tons of stuff on Prime, and I think Netflix probably has some stuff too. So go ahead and just kind of enjoy those movies. They're fun movies. The quote, one of the words is soiree, S-O-I-R-E-E. And the other word is marriage. So, and 2 of the quotes, I guess we'll put these online,
Yeah,
maybe.
we'll put them online.
Okay. The quotes are kind of fun. A distance is nothing when one has a motive. I think that came from Emma. And then the other one is, I would always rather be happy than dignified. So I think that's from Pride and Prejudice. Now, for the old timers, if you want, you could do a wedding vow or a wedding invitation in this. Yikes. Okay. That's a bigger project. So I'm really excited because I really don't know much about Copperplate. I'm more of a Spencerian dude because I like monoline. I love monoline. I don't have to think. So Jan, are you ready? You can take over and give
Matt,
us all the goods. Yeah.
before Jan starts, could I just talk about the April workshop real quick?
Oh, yes. I'm sorry. I missed that. Okay.
We have a workshop scheduled for April 23rd and 24th with Barbara Close. She's teaching pointed pen possibilities. So this is perfect timing with Jan's 2 classes that we have scheduled for March and April. The class will be Friday, April 23rd from 10 until 1 on Zoom, and Saturday from 10 to 12 and 1 to 3. The cost for members is $70, and you can sign up on the website through PayPal. We are limiting the number in the class, so I suggest you get on right away and get signed up. Barbara is an amazing teacher. Her pointed pen is beautiful, and she's going to do some really fun variations, things that you can do with the pointed pen. So the supply list is also going to be on the website. So when you sign up, you'll know exactly what you'll need. And we will, as soon as you have registered for the class, we'll have you on the list and send you the Zoom invitation for the class. So April 23rd, 24th, Barbara Close. We hope you'll be able to join us. Thank you, Matt.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Yeah.
On our website, it says fall workshops. Is there?
No,
In the fall, we have Carol DeBosch scheduled, and we're hoping that it will be a live class. If not, then we'll do it on Zoom. But I think we'll be live by fall. So
How do we get to the sign up part?
can I say something?
Yes, go
I've
ahead,
got
Liz.
all the information. I just had to do first things first
Yeah.
and ran out of time. So I will get it on this weekend. I will get all of that information on, and there will be a PayPal button on the website. I think it's 75 for members and 85
It's 70, I think. 70 for
70
members and
members.
75.
and 75 for,
I mean, 80 for non-members, 70 for members.
I'm just going by memory, and I just thought it was 75 and 85, but 70 and 80 for non-members. And we will accept members. You know, if you're a member, you'll get first chance, but you can't wait until the last minute.
Right.
So you need to, but I'll have a button there and have all the information, because Judy did send that to me, but then everybody sent me their their homework, and I figured I better get that up first. So
Good. We wanted to announce it, so this is good. Your time is fine.
that's good, and so that it will be up on the website this weekend sometime. So
Thank you, Liz. Thank you, Matt. Thanks, everyone.
well, thank you, Judy.
Just to let everyone know, I'm not teaching this month, so I am monitoring the chat. If you have a question, put 3 question marks at the beginning of it, and I will get that into Janet at pausing time so we can give her as much teaching time as she can have. But your questions are important and we want to get them there. If I don't understand the way you typed it, I will either send you a direct message for clarification or let you ask the question.
Let me know when you're ready.
Hi, Jan. We're so ready.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was just waiting.
Fire away, Jan. We're ready. Go
Okay.
for it.
I was waiting to see what was going on. Hopefully you can see me and you can see my paper.
Yeah.
Okay, so I just want to make sure you have, if you're left-handed, you might want to use a straight holder. And that's why when I teach this class, I teach at the U, I always have people get a dual workshop holder because you can take the flange out and use it either way. Because left-handers usually don't use an oblique pen holder. So let me stick this back in. So you could just have whatever pen holder you're used to. Can you see that okay? Is there too much glare on it? Sorry, get adjusted here.
Get focused.
A Nico G nib. Nico G nib. You don't have to have a Nico G. Whatever nib that your favorite pointed pen nib is. Higgins Eternal Ink is what I'm using. You need to put 2 drops of, if you're using a dinky dip, you need to put 2 drops of gum arabic in it. If you didn't do that, the difference is it makes it the ink viscous, so it doesn't flow off the nib as easily. And so that's a good thing to have. But if you put too much gum arabic in, it'll make jello. So you have to be careful. Okay, a pipette for just adding drops of, just an eyedropper to add the gum arabic to your ink. A dinky dip, this is just a single one. I really like this, I use it a lot. But you might have yours in a set of 4. A Rhodia, and the reason I had to get Rhodia is it's fountain pen friendly paper. It's ink friendly paper. You might have a black one, or you might have, I think Liz is using Layout Bond. So the Layout Bond is nice because you can see through it really easily. She's holding it up. It's Canson.
I'm holding it up as Canson, and when I took Pat Blair's class, that's what she had us use. So I have a whole pad of it. So I thought I'll use it.
Thank you, Liz. You want to have water and paper towels. I cut my paper towels into little squares. And the handouts that I gave you, hopefully you have a little sheet that looks something like this. This is really compacted. This is really a fast way to teach it because the Zenarian School of Handwriting, where they first taught this in the United States in the 1800s, they would spend 6 months on maybe a few letters. So we're doing it really fast. And the pen adjustment paper, I don't think you got, because I'll just go over it real quick. Your pen should be slanted up a little bit. This one's slanted a little far, but it shouldn't be going straight. It should be slanting up. Your nib, if you hold something down the middle of your pen, your nib should be about that far away from the middle. So here's a picture of it right here. If you're new to this, just yell if you need some help. And also it should be slanted up from the centers, like as this picture right here. I'm shitting on you a lot. If things don't work, say something, because you want to have your pen working or it's very frustrating. Okay. What's also important besides the nib that you're using and the pen holder that you're using is the paper that you're using, and that makes a big difference. So just because Jane was interested, I tried different, because she was interested in having the top be flat. And this is on different inks, so that's Sumi. And I found that the biggest difference to get that flat top was with the nib, not with the ink, not with the paper. the nib made the biggest difference. If that's not making sense to you, I'll explain it in a second. So Jane, if you want to talk about that later. So welcome everybody. I'm so glad to see everybody. I'm going to put you in gallery so I can see you all, which is fun. And then I can kind of get a feeling for how it's going with you. So thanks for letting me see you. Now calligraphers, like baseball players, usually warm up before they start writing, which is a really good thing to do when you're doing this hand because it's so precise. And I'm teaching the formal hand like it was taught in the Zenarian School of Handwriting. You can even, this is the actual Zenarian school. Which was in the 1800s in Ohio. And that's how it all started because they needed businessmen who could do handwriting. It was actually found that there were actually women calligraphers that excelled at this school, but it was, and the IAMPETH, which is the internet, let me say it right, the Master Penman, the International Association of Master Penmen and Grocers and Teachers of Handwriting is a organization that is specifically for this people that write in this hand, although they write in different hands too. So it's IAMPETH. And I'm going over things really fast, so I don't take too much time on that. We do the alphabet. You can get actual, they put out a publication at the School of Zenarian Handwriting, and this is a Zenarian manual of alphabets and engrossing. Now this hand was called Copperplate sometimes, engrosser script sometimes. It's been called different things. We're calling it pointed pen. It is not Spencerian, which is a different hand altogether. So that's more of a Spencerian hand there. So that's not what we're doing. In case you're wondering, it is a pointed pen hand. There's Mataraz, which is another one. They're all beautiful. Spencerian. So what I want you to do is make sure you have the lines that I sent, which look like this. And these are from, way up here. These are from Eleanor Winter's book. So if you have her book, it's called Italic and Copperplate Calligraphy. And the 3-2-3 is the ratio that this, I'm gonna take my zoom off, sorry. The ratio that this hand is written, which means the difference between the lowercase letters and the ascenders that go up and the descenders that go down is really important. And so it won't have the look of this alphabet unless you get the ratio right. So on your lines, the very top line, you might wanna, if you're new, label it ascender line. Is that too bright? Let me turn this off. That's not helping. Okay, ascender line is the top line. It's a little off here. Actually put it under a piece of bond, like, and then the waistline is the next line down, then the baseline, and then the descender line. X height is between the waist and the base. And I want you to start practicing between the two larger lines. So what, just get a pencil or anything and put yourself comfortable in your chair. Actually, your elbow should be 90 degrees with the table. If you're uptight, if you aren't at that right angle, if that makes sense to you. My elbow is 90 degrees. So I have to put myself up on a pillow. So I'm high enough that my elbow isn't below the edge of the table. All of these things play a factor in how your lettering looks. If you're uptight or you're thinking about your laundry and whatever else you need to do, your writing will show that you're nervous or uptight. So it's good to relax. And also when you go get ready to write, I want you to put your hand down comfortably on the page.
So should the tabletop be flat?
The tabletop should be flat. Thank you. And when your pad should be tilted, and I'll explain that more in a minute. But right now it doesn't matter where it's tilted, but what's important is you just put your hand down where it's comfortable. I want you to pretend you're an anthropologist right now, and we're going to study the way it was done. So I want you to hold it in a tripod grip, which is, I'm sorry, I got ink all over my fingers, but there's a space between my thumb and my index finger, and my third finger is underneath. So just give it a try. If you hate what I'm saying, you do not have to do anything I'm saying. I just want you to try. So put your hand down, just set it down where it's comfortable. Okay, and then and one thing about this is some people teach you to write rapidly when you're practicing. I want you to go slow, and I want you to just try to have, and I'm writing really light, try to, and I'm wonky because I haven't warmed up. So this is a warm up between those two bigger lines. And I'm not writing on the lines. I have a paper over the top. So stick your paper underneath. If you have the Rhodia, I'll change to that in a minute. So I just want you to try to make your loops, you're warming up, try to make them uniform so that and now everybody's going to be a little bit different. So just make some loops across between those two bigger lines. So try to make them uniform. Okay, and that's a warm up. And there's lots of different warm ups you can do, which we're not going to go into right now. I'll just show you what some of those look like. You can do all of these different kinds of warm ups, but we're not going to get into that. Okay, so now your ink. When you dip the pen in, there is a little reservoir on your nib. Okay, it's that hole. One way to make sure that you're doing the correct thing is to turn your paper so that that hole, I can actually see the slant line in the hole. And I'm constantly going to be checking to make sure that slant line, I can see that my pen is exactly on it. And the reason is, sorry, it's focusing. The reason is I'm on the slant line. I can see the slant line right down the hole. The reason is when you put your pen down, sorry, I got to find my pen. When you set it down, now you're not going to squeeze. So you're going to press down, but you're not going to squeeze. So your hand should look something like this. Your thumb is right by the flange, and your index finger is right to the end. Okay, so watch for a second before you do anything. You should load your pen up with some ink. If I'm missing anything, somebody yell. Okay, you're gonna set it down and watch this first. You're gonna push down but not squeeze. And when I push down, the tines, the two sides of the nib spread apart. Oops. Sorry, I didn't follow the slant line, so I'll do that again. And then when you get to the bottom, you close them up. So what you're trying to do, we tried to do the slant line this time. Set it down, spread it open, push down. And then let the nib slide over to close it up. Press it down. And this is bond paper, and I find that it has more of a rounded top to it. So I'm going to switch over to Rhodia.
Jan, we had a question about warming up. Are we warming up with our finger movement or our hand?
Good question. You are using your whole hand and your arm and not your fingers. So instead of doing something like this, I don't know why it's so close. So instead of doing something like this, where I'm moving my fingers, I'm going to gently hold my pen like a feather, like I would kill it if I squeezed it too tight. I'm going to turn my paper, not my hand. My hand's comfortable to where it's lined up. And I'm going to push down, but I'm not going to squeeze. And it's interesting to get used to. So we're going between this is the Rhodia paper. I'm going to stroke first. I'm just worried about the lighting here. It's just really bugging me. That's too bright. Usually I don't have this problem. Let me open this. I teach at night usually, so it's hard to find the right lighting right now. Okay, so it should be at about a 45-degree angle from your hand. You can see in the smaller picture of me how I'm holding it. Okay, I'm going to put my hand down comfortably, and then I'm going to turn my paper so it's on the slant line. And then I'm going to put my pen down. I'm going to press down, not hard. And I'm going to go to the bottom line and let the right tine slide over so it makes kind of a square end. So try about 5 of those. Set your pen down, push, open it, go down to the bottom line and let it slide over. And Jane, sometimes, because I know she said something, sometimes you can cheat by just setting your pen down and just doing a little jog at the top to make it square. And you can make an absolutely perfect square top and bottom. Now the paper is going to make, now if you have your hand on your paper, it's going to put oil on your paper, and possibly you won't be able to write on that paper. So I have a card underneath my hand. Also, if your nib was new, you probably need to put some toothpaste on it and scrub it a little bit so there's no oil on your nib. If your nib isn't writing, that's probably why. So try, you might want to do that real quick. You can put it in a potato. That takes the oil off the nib. There's different ways, but there's not a lot of time to go into too much. So tell me if you're having trouble. So set it down, press down. And then what I'm doing is I'm following the slant line. So here's my slant line. Okay, I'm doing it in the bigger spaces. Okay, the next stroke that you need to practice is on that sheet that I gave you. And I just read that it's better not to trace. It's better to do it yourself. If yours looks a little different than my number 2 stroke is this one right here. Okay, and the part that comes down like this is called a shade if you're pressing down. And if you're going up, watch this first and you can try it. If you tell me if you can't see, because mine's looking really wonky. If your pen won't write, you can make a little dot and start writing, or scribble off to the side. Okay, every time I put my hand down, I'm gonna check that slant line every single time. Okay, so I'm gonna, and this whole alphabet, before you do the next stroke, I just want you to know that the whole alphabet is based on an ellipse, and it's an elliptical ellipse. In the Zenarian book, it's called an oval. It's not an oval, and it's ellipse. Okay, so if I was gonna look at the next stroke, I would be going up here in a hairline, just barely touching the paper. I would wait till I was past the curve, way over here before I press down and then end in a square bottom. So you want to go up. I'm going to check my hairline, my slant. I'm going to go up in a hairline. Wait till I get past the tour, wait, and then go press down. Does that make sense? You're all busy. So tell me if it's not making sense, okay? Looks like everybody's kind of there. Okay, so let's just do 3 of those. If you did more, that's good. Okay, that's stroke number 2. The third one starts with a shade. Now the shade is the thick part where you pull down, and this hairline is the thin part that goes up. So we're going to start number 3 with a shade, just like you did this first stroke. And you're going to start letting up like a train coming into the station. So there's no thickness on the curve. So start like you did the first stroke, press down, start letting up. Okay, I'm not worried too much about the shape of these yet. I'm just getting used to the, now check your pen and make sure it's on the slant line every time. Set your pen down, let the tines open, let up, and hairline up to the top. So that would be 3. Now, if we had lots of time, you could circle the best one and then make 3 more and try to improve on those. That's a good way to practice, but we don't have time. Okay, I'm getting worried about time already. Okay, the fourth one, the fourth practice stroke. Is called a compound curve. Okay, and it's a hairline up. So if it's not writing, make a little dot, hairline up. And you don't put the shade on until you get past the curve, and you're already going to start be letting up. Okay, a little more difficult, and guess what? I got off the slant line there. You can see it's pushed a little bit too far that way. So now if you do something wonky, leave it, because then you'll know what you did. If you cross it out or scribble it out, you won't know what you did. So check your slant line every time. You're going to get tired of hearing me say that. Slant line up, start putting the shade on, and you're already coming out of the shade. And I'm going to try to get this one on the slant line. Okay, so that's stroke number 4. So try 3 of those. I don't know what's going on with this thing. Oh, okay. I see the problem. Okay, here we go. Took me a minute. Can you see that well enough? Somebody nod yes.
Yes, that's much better.
Okay. I still have the zoom on. That was the problem. Okay. Hairline up. No shade till you get past the curve. Start letting up out of the shade and follow that slant line. Check your hand, make sure you got it. Are you squeezing that pen? I can hear some of the pens yelling out, oh, I'm dying, somebody's squeezing me. Don't squeeze your pen. What you're doing is pressing down, you're not squeezing. I've noticed some people online, you can see their finger is like this. It's like totally white because they're squeezing the pen so hard. It should be more relaxed. Now, I learned from Stephen Gispin in California in about 1970. And then I took class from Don Tate and from Bill Kemp, who studied with Bill Lilly, who studied from Luke Lupfer. So right directly from the School of Zenarian Handwriting, which I love. Okay, next stroke. This is not an O. This is a elliptical shape, and you start over to the right side and you go up. And so what helps with this, if you want, is to draw a circle, ellipse, draw an ellipse. You know, an ellipse is kind of thinner, narrower at the top and the bottom, and the sides are almost parallel. So you're going to start here, hairline, 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 and then you're going to push down so the left tine kind of bows out a little bit, and you're already going to let up and come back around with the hairline. So the hairline is on the left side only. Okay, so you're going to start over here. Let the left tine bow out. You're just pushing down, you're not squeezing. Okay, and when you make a bunch of these, you're going to try to get them uniform. Now there is a little optical illusion going around with the O, with the, sorry, it's not an O, with the ellipse. Okay, so if you have stroke number 1, it has the optical illusion of looking like this. It looks taller than it is. The oval ellipse, ellipse, looks shorter than it is because it has the optical illusion of looking like that, even though they're the same size. So you want to make sure that your long lines don't go over the guidelines, but your ellipse goes a little taller. And you can see these are short, they're underneath the line. They don't look right, they don't match up, but this one does because it went actually through the line. So just a good thing to know. So if you're writing a line of lettering, you want to make sure your ellipses are over the line. Okay, so next one is stroke number 5. Notice there is a waistline, a baseline, an ascender line, a descender line, and then there's this is also an ascender. So the descender for the top line is the ascender for the next line. Okay, and then there's a waistline again, and a baseline, and a descender, ascender. So that'll make sense in a few minutes when we do the tall letters. Okay, so turn your paper, make sure you're lined up with the slant line. Your hand is comfortable. You should have a cup of tea so you're nice and comfortable. This is supposed to be a picnic, not a nitpick. as Lloyd Reynolds would say. Okay, so next one. Tell me if I'm talking too much. The slant line, by the way, is 55 degrees. The next one is, now what do you think? Where would I start with the next one? It's over to the right. Where would I start with this one? Would I start with the hairline or would I start with the shade? If you
Shade.
said shade, what is it? If you said
Shade.
shade, okay. So we're between the big lines again. So shade, and then you're coming out of the shade like a train into the station, and the hairline goes up. So there's no shade right there. Okay, so try that one again. I'm on the slant line. So I'm watching the slant line. My paper is quite tilted. I'm down, let up, and come around. Make sure you press your space bar and tell me if you want me to do something again. So make 3 of those. And then that would be number 6. And the 7th one is hairline up, no shade until you get past the curve, and then the curve down. So just glide up your little fairy princess and then go back down with a nice shade. So remember not to squeeze, just press down lightly. I'm doing mine a little heavy so you can see them. Okay. I wasn't real consistent with my shape there. I should have done it more that way, but that's okay. Okay. Okay, when you start doing the letters, we have to kind of go faster. When we start doing the letters, it's like an artist learning to paint. When they look at your face, they don't say nose, that's a nose, because since you were 5 years old, you knew what a nose looked like and you would start drawing that nose that you know. So instead of thinking of the name of the letter, it's better to think of these shapes that we just did, if that makes sense to you. So now we're going to go between the waistline and the baseline.
You're off the screen, Jan.
Thank you. Waistline and baseline. So it's the thinner lines. And the characteristic of 3 to 2 to 3 is what makes this alphabet look like Copperplate, Spencerian, engrosser script, whatever you want to call it. And that's because the lowercase letters are 2 units and the ascenders and descenders are 3 units. So if you were going to make your letters 1/8 inch tall, then your ascender would be 3/8 inch and your descender would be 3/8 inch. So you can do it on a piece of binder paper. If you have a piece of binder paper, you would say that one section of the binder paper was 2 units. So you would go up 2 units and a half a unit. So you can do it on any kind of lined paper and know what you're doing. Hopefully that made sense. So we're going slow, we're relaxed, put your hand down comfortably and turn your pen and your paper. So you can turn your pen in your hand. Just don't move your hand. Your hand's comfortable. You can move your pen. You can move your pen to the right angle, but keep your hand comfortable. Now those scribes had to write for 8 hours a day, all day long, and not complain about hand cramps. So if you are squeezing or uptight with your right hand, put something like a pencil in your left hand like this and press down on the table with it, and it'll lighten up your other hand. So I can put it down on the table and press down on it with my left hand, and that really lightens up my right hand. Okay, you have to wipe your pen often. Now the pen will pick up little fibers of paper in it constantly. And I just moved my nib, sorry. So dip it a little bit in the water, but you don't want water to go into the flange. So you have to be careful not to get water up in this part. So wipe it off. So dip and wipe your pen often. Okay, every time I put my pen down, what am I checking? The slant line, that my hand's comfortable. Okay, so we're gonna do this stroke. So I want you to start between the X height. You know, the printers kept the lowercase letters in the bottom drawer and the uppercase letters in the top drawer, and that's why they're called upper and lowercase letters. But these are all lowercase letters that we're doing today. So, are you having fun? Not quite. You look so serious. Okay, so we're not going to do a letter right now. We're just going to do stroke number 1. Or number 2, sorry, number 2. Do a stroke number 2, the best you can do. Now, actual engrosser script is a little more critical than Copperplate or round hand. It was called round hand. It came from the French in the 17th century, and it was French round hand, and then it came to England and they called it English round hand. And it was because there was such an explosion of business that these business guys had to write legibly, and so they used this hand. Okay, so now we did stroke number. Now I want you to do stroke number 4. Stroke number 2, stroke number 4. Okay, I got stroke number 2 and stroke number 4. If you look at the line of lettering right here, we did stroke number 2, stroke number 4. Now, if you're doing engrosser script, you would do a stroke number 2, and you would lift your pen up. The more lifts you do, the more precise your lettering might be. And you're going to start, if you're engrossers and you're doing it critically, you don't touch the first stroke, and you do a stroke number 4. And what have you got? You've got an N. Now the other way, if you're just not going to be that critical at first, which is fine, you can do stroke number 2 and start in the middle of that stroke, and you're going to branch out. Now what you're looking for is a nice V shape inside of that letter. So let me do one that's not the V shape, and you can see this one doesn't have a nice big V, and it looks more like a bookend N. So it's not this alphabet. You want to have a nice branch starting from pretty low. So stroke number 2, stroke number 4. Now what we're looking for is uniformity. So this space and this space and this space should be kind of uniform. So try 3 of those. If you're uptight, your shoulders uptight, relax your shoulders. You need to relax and be comfortable. And gently, gently slide the pen. So do another one. Stroke number 2. I'm not thinking N, I'm thinking stroke number 2. stroke number 4. So hopefully you got 3 of those. Let's try the M. We're not going to say M. We're take a stroke number 2. Just do a stroke number 2. Don't worry about anything else. And another stroke number 2. And then a stroke number 4. Then put it together. Stroke number 2. If you want to watch first, that's fine. Or if you just want to do it with me. Stroke number 2. I'm looking for uniformity. I'm not thinking about anything else but stroke number 2. Now I'm thinking of stroke number 4. And you got a beautiful M. So try 3 of those. 2 stroke number 2s and a stroke number 4. Okay, when somebody's looking up, I think most of you might be done. So let's try a stroke number 4 just by itself. Stroke number 4. Now what you got to watch for is being on the slant line. Okay, what's common is to go like this. You don't want to do that. Okay, so do a stroke number 4. And then it's got 2 little, it's an X, it's going to be an X. So there's a little push. I push my pen down a little bit. So it's a little heavier there and come in a little bit above center. And I push my pen down a little bit and come up a little bit that way. If you've ever taken from Don Tate, it's so fun because he goes, and you go like, and you go, yeah, And so, a little bit of pushing there. And they're not uniform, so I'd have to work on it. The more you warm up, and you know, Picasso didn't paint that painting the first time he painted it. He painted it 27 times before you saw it. And so the first time you write something down, don't be too critical of yourself. You're if it's the first time, just give yourself a break. Okay, here's the X height between the
You're off the
waistline.
screen again. Sorry, Jan.
No, that's okay, thanks. I never know
There we
where
go.
I am. Does it help if I put it up higher? Sorry about the shadow. Okay. I need Brecken here with her expertise with the camera. All right, so let's go with a number 4 stroke again, okay? Good time to practice number 4 stroke. This is a V, so when you get to this side, it's a push and let go. So push, let go. push, let go. Push, let go. Okay, let's start with the number 2 stroke again. Do a 2 stroke. Make it as best you can. Okay, and then there's another little stroke that's going to start up a little higher this time. It's going to go up and push down like that. And I'm going to put those together. Number 2. A little higher and push. And that is one kind of an R. Also looking for a V shape, but not so deep as on the N.
Jan,
Yes.
can you explain when you use that type of an R?
You can use it in the middle of a word or at the end of the word. I've seen it both places. I used to think, oh, that's only at the end of a word. I've seen it in the middle of a word. So interesting, huh? And hopefully we'll get to where we can do some words. Okay, so the other R is a long upstroke, a long hairline, a little push, and kind of this backwards, like, or actually it's a C shape like that. So putting it together, do a long upstroke, a push, and I like to go down here. Some people go straight across. I like it like this. Some people do it straight across. I don't like it like that. So I don't like it, but it's okay. If you have the Speedball textbook, it's got a whole alphabet written out for you. And you can always, it's always good to have a model. My model is going to be this page I'm giving you right here, but so it's always good to look at a model. Okay, most of the letters start with a upstroke like this, and it's not like this. It's curved. I always have to check my pen, make sure it's on the slant line. It's just a little up curved stroke. It kind of is to the middle of between the waistline and the baseline. So in order to do set 2, now all of those I call set 1. That's how Bill Camp teaches it. So it's because all of those letters pretty much start with that basic stroke number 2. So this one, set number 2, is O, C, E, I, let's see, U, A, I don't even have all my strokes here. So we'll do those. And W and S. Okay, you don't have to write that down. I'm just reminding myself. Okay, so we did a elliptical oblique shape. Now we're going to put it into an O. So you do an up, make sure you're on the slant line, upstroke. We're going to start over here, and this takes some practice. Now, you know, as a calligrapher, you look where your eye is going, not where your pen is. So if I set my pen down here, my eye is over here. So I'm going to go up. I'm going to bow out my left. I'm going to come, and then there's a push stroke at the end. Remember the O, you want to go definitely over the top and the bottom of your line, just a fraction. I mean, just like an angstrom. Okay, so Upstroke, start over here, look over here. Hairline up. Don't push down till you get past the curve. These sides are almost parallel. If you have Dick Jackson's book, it's such a good book because it shows you all the mistakes you could make. I can have it in here somewhere. I thought I could grab it real quick. Maybe not. So what's really cool about his book is he'll say, don't do this. Don't do that. Don't do that. It's too round. So it's a really cool book. It's only $12. But it's Copperplate Calligraphy by Dick Jackson. Really cool book. Okay, so it tells you all the mistakes you can make. Okay, so let's try the C. The C has something interesting. So you're going to do an upstroke, and you're going to do this little circle. I'm going to do it right here. You draw the circle. I don't know if you can see. I didn't fill it in. See how it's open? You draw the circle and then you fill it in. So I'm going to do an upstroke. I'm going to draw a little circle. So this is another one where you might want to draw the ellipse with your pencil. Okay, I'm going to draw the circle right here. So I'm drawing the circle and it's on the inside. Then I'm going to fill it in and I'm going to come to the right side of it and do my hairline up, bow out my pen, and this bottom stroke goes out a little farther for a C. So upstroke, draw, I'll make it bigger so you can see it. Draw the circle, fill it in, bow out your left tine, and come out farther. So try 3 C's. I'm supposed to end by 12, right? Is that correct, Brecken?
That's normally when we would-
Okay. That's what I was trying for. Okay. Go back up. Check and make sure your shoulders are relaxed, you're comfortable, set your hand down comfortable, turn your pen, turn your paper, make sure you're on the slant line, and we're back between the waistline and the baseline. Okay, so here we go with the E. And the E's got something odd with it, which really is characteristic of this alphabet. And this is the first stroke of the E. It's just a hairline. Okay, so I'm going to do the first part of the E, and then I'm going to go hairline up, and I'm going to bow it out like I would be on the left side of the O, and I'm going to come out farther like I did on the C. So up and over, way up and around. When you start writing this alphabet, you might find that you want to compress strokes a little bit and then have a little different bit of a look. But this is a good way to learn them. And this is fine. I'll show you. I have a piece of writing by hopefully we'll have time to show that by the Zenarian School of Handwriting. That is like this. This is how they taught it. Okay, so lost my page. So I stroke, upstroke, just like you were doing those first number 1 strokes. You're going to press down, separate the nibs, the tines, and let up before you get to the bottom. And you want a nice big triangle down there. And you want a little dot. So you're going to draw a circle, but you don't want it any wider than the shade. So upstroke, stroke number 1. Let up before you get to the bottom. Draw your circle. You can press your space bar if you want me to do them more than that. Okay, next one. You already know how to do the O shape. This is an A. So I'm going to make sure I'm on a slant line. Upstroke. Just like I was going to do an O. And stop. Now Reggie taught us a little trick. You can keep going up. And that means you won't cut into this oval when you do a stroke number 1. And the less ink you have down here in the bottom, the better your letter's going to look. So upstroke, start over to the right, look to the left. And that's called railroading right there, which means I didn't have enough ink in my pen. Upstroke. Let up before you get to the bottom. Now this is what you don't want to do. I'm going to show you a don't do this. What happened? I cut into the ellipse, and I don't want to do that. I also don't want to do this. So look at yours and see if you did this. That's more of a bookhand A. It's round. It doesn't have the ellipse. So look at yours and make sure you went up, made your ellipse. Now this one is better because I've got a nice big, this one is, I did a bookhand and I forgot to make my, I don't have enough of a V shape there. So, right again. Oh, sorry, I'm getting into a bookhand rut here. I don't know if you can see the difference, but I've got more of a V. There. Okay, the U is actually an upstroke, a stroke number 3, another stroke number 3, makes a U. That's not a W, that's a U. And make sure you have nice lot of negative space down there at the bottom. Okay, let's go. W is just upstroke, stroke number 2. I'm sorry, stroke number 3, another stroke number 3, and a push like you did on the V. Upstroke, stroke number 3, stroke number 3, push. Nice big V shape. This one's not quite as big as it could be. Now, as soon as you start adding words, making words, things change a little bit. So stroke number 2, 3, stroke number 3, stroke number 3. And that's a little cramped. So what you're looking for is even spaces, and this is a little too close right here. So it's a little squarish. Do you have that inner critic that just tells you, oh no, that's not good? So, and it's not supposed to look like a machine anyway. People get over obsessed with having it be perfect. It doesn't have to be perfect, in my opinion. Okay. You just try to get better and better and better. All right, next set. Oh, we still have an S. Sorry, one more. Okay, long upstroke. And S actually has an S shape in it. So that could help. And there also is a little push. So upstroke, push, little S shape. And I make a dot there. You don't have to. I think S's are hard, but you don't want your S to lean over in any direction. So you want to make sure it's on the slant.
Do you mind doing that again, Jan?
Yes.
Thank you.
Upstroke. Make sure you go far to the right. Push down, let up, make that little S shape, dot. I think S's are hard. I shouldn't say that because it might not be hard for you at all. You do not have to put a dot there. Some of my teachers did and some of them didn't. So there's always a little teeny twist for each person that does it. I don't know what it is with my A's today, but that doesn't have enough of a V shape there. Check and make sure you're on a slant line. You can make little notes, but then don't cross out what you did because then you'll do the same thing again, maybe. Is everybody good? Do you need a break? Doing okay? I can see some of you, so I know you're still alive. All right. Now we're going to the PTD, and there's another line that usually isn't on guidelines. So here's my waistline and my baseline. And here's my ascender and my descender. And these three letters that we're going to do next are PTD. And there is another line that's not there that basically it doesn't have to be exactly in the center between the waistline and the ascender, but that's where you can start doing it. It can vary a little bit. So that's the PTD line. And it's characteristic of this alphabet. So the T's are not real tall. The P's are taller than you think. And the T's are short to that PTD line. So and the P is very characteristic of this alphabet. So you want to watch your V negative spaces on these. So a T, let's do P first. Well, I've got it on your pages, the T first. So let's do the T first. So upstroke, start at the PTD line, press down and do stroke number one. You want to let up before you get to the bottom, so there's not too much. And then you always cross the T straight, kind of between those two lines. So a modern calligrapher might cross a T something like this, but not in this not in the round hand. Of course, once you know the rules, you can break them. You know that. So, upstroke, stroke number one. Let up before you get to, oops, that was wonky. Upstroke, stroke number one on the slant line. Make sure you have that nice negative space.
So Jan,
Yes,
is the crossbar above the waistline?
yes. Here's the waistline and here's the PTD line. So it's kind of in the middle of those two.
Okay, thanks.
Does that make sense? So
Yeah,
here's my,
thank you.
okay, you already know how to do an A. And this is one of those Reggie tricks for the D. So you already know how to do it. Upstroke, just like you're going to do an A, and then stop. Okay. Now, Reggie's trick is you just keep going up to the PTD line. And that way you know you're not going to cut in to that ellipse. So then you do your down stroke and make sure you let up towards the bottom. So that just is a lifesaver. Upstroke, ellipse, keep going up on the slant line, and then stay to the right of that. And you have, that's a much nicer D. Ooh, I really like that D. So try 3 of those. And then let's try P, which is some people don't like, and so they don't make them, but you really, I think it really is characteristic of this alphabet. So it's an upstroke. Go to the PTD line and go all the way. Now this way you go halfway. There's no line that they call this line, but it's, you stop before you get to the descender. So it's kind of halfway between there. This one's halfway between there. And then you want your bowl is actually a stroke number 4. And I went too far. You can see what happens if you go too far. It really looks clunky. So let's try, I'm going to try one where I didn't go too far. So upstroke. And then I'm going to do a stroke number 4. But I'm going to make sure I let up before I get to the bottom. Much nicer. Now the thing is, you got to make sure everything's on the slant. Everything on the slant line. It's just an odd looking P, I think. So upstroke.
Jen, is there a closed P for this alphabet?
No. But people do it. So if you want to do it, do it. Thank you for asking that. Okay, here's the other P.
Jen,
There's
if you were to do a closed P, how would you go about it? Treat it like an S or something like that?
I don't know. I don't do a closed P for this alphabet.
Oh, okay. No.
Sorry. Okay, so Matt, the other thing you can do is this. When you get down here, you can start lightening it up. So you have a thin descender. I don't know, I've gotten so used to this, it's just normal for me, but I know it looks really odd when you're first starting. Oh my goodness, okay, we have to keep going. Okay, the next letters are the ascender letters. I'm not going to mark them into sets because I think this was set 1 and 2 that we did. I think that was set 1 and 2. And then the PTD were set 3. And now we're on set 4, and there's 5 steps. So set 4 would be the ascenders. So watch this. This is what you do on all the ascenders. Okay, make sure your hand's on the slant. Turn your paper, turn your pen, line it up. Okay, every one of these next letters starts like the E, kind of. Like that. Very characteristic of the ascenders for this alphabet. Okay, so if I was going to do an L, and you can lift your pen. If you have, you guys know that if you have 2 thick strokes, you don't want to cross them because it'll drag ink from one stroke to the other. It'll puddle right there. So some people, when they do these, they stop there, then go up. It'll make your letter more precise too. Go all the way around till you're past the curve and then come down in a stroke number 1. Let up before you get to the bottom so you don't have ink there. And you'll have a very elegant L. Do you ever work yourself so that you have so much stuff on your desk you only have like 2 inches left to work on? Got too much stuff on my desk. Okay. So I'm checking slant line. Beautiful. Of course, if it's got something connected to it, it's not going to go up in that nice little U shape. Okay, so what letter do you think this is that I'm making now? What letter is that? It could be an L, it could be an H, it could be a K, it could be a B. They all start the same way. Okay, so if it's going to be an H, I'm going to come around. Oh, I was going to say, if you don't want to drag ink, you can make, some people leave a gap there. They'll actually leave a little gap. So H comes down all the way like a stroke number 1. And then it's got a stroke number 4. So that's all an H is. Stroke number 1. I mean, sorry. Beginning stroke. Come down flat. Sometimes you could cheat and make that really flat. Okay. Like I said, I've got too much stuff on my desk. Can't move my paper up. Okay, so that's my line's not lined up. So I'm gonna try another one. My waistline and baseline are down here, so. Actually, the more you pick up your pen in this letter, the more elegant you can make it. So you can always pick up your pen. Often the pen is picked up every time you hit the bottom line. I'll show you that. But H. And then, of course, the K is a little odd, so it starts the same way. So it could be an H or a K. Okay, but visually, the K is supposed to look like it's taking up the same amount of space as an H. So I'm going to make this a little shorter. And then I'm going to put, this is a little bit above the waistline, and I curve it into the K. So let me do that again. Upstroke, entrance stroke is what that's called. So I'm going to, you can do this one first if you want. Curve it. Either way. But it should look visually similar to the K, H.
So Jan, on that K, you make the regular part of the H shorter than the waistline so that you can fit that little K thing in.
That is the same on both of them. And this is shorter, you're right. So if I'm gonna curve this around. And every single person I've taken from this does it differently. So
So if you're, when you're starting that K, if you do that K part first, now this next part, where are you going to start your dot? At the waistline?
A
Above
little-
the waistline?
a little bit above the waistline,
Above the waistline, okay.
and then curve it. And sometimes, for some people, it sits right on the, it kind of sits right on there.
Okay, thank you.
And the one on your example looks straight, so you might want to, I don't like that one a lot. Maybe cross the one out. Okay, B is the same beginning. Only when, be caution when you get down to this far, you're gonna lighten up and you're gonna come back. Now and then you're gonna do a push. So what you're doing on the B is keeping it parallel. So you don't bow out with the bowl on the B. You come in, that's even narrower, which is fine. You just don't want to go, this one's even bowing out a little too much maybe. So parallel. Okay, F actually starts the same way as well. And you can go solid down there, or you can do like you did on the P. You can have it come into a point. What I do on my Fs is I do this. I gotta watch my posture. If your legs are crossed, it'll show up in your writing. I do my Fs like this. I make like a little smile. I notice in Lepper does them like this. He does them like, he does kind of a funny little thing like that. I don't do them like that. I do mine like that. You choose how you want. Look at a few examples from, you can go on IMPEF and look at examples from the 1800s. Also, if you have the Universal Penman book, it's got, I notice a lot of, they don't loop a lot of their letters, like on the L's and the H's, they just have a straight line. They don't have a loop, which is interesting.
So maybe I missed it, the first part. When you're doing these ascenders and you do that first entrance stroke, and then when you come down, is that loop supposed to be more narrow than wide and loopy? You know what I mean?
You mean this loop right here?
I can't see, it's not on camera. There, yes, that loop. Is it
It's
better?
personal. It's personal preference, as long as they're all consistent.
Okay, thank you.
Because every single person does them a little bit different. So we practice that stroke, if you remember. It's that stroke. So as long as it fits in with your other letters, so you don't want a big wide loopy F and a narrow B, etc. You can, I have my students keep all their pages in their book. So if you have a Rhodia, I tear mine out because I always want to do better. No, you should see your mistake. When I practiced italic, that's the first hand I learned. I had a stack of papers a mile high. I finally threw them out when we moved so many times. I should have kept them. But it's good to keep your practice pages. You can use them as wrapping paper. You can use them as stationery right on the other side. Very useful. Okay, so let's do the last. We're down to 7 minutes or something like that. This next one are the descenders. And here's the waistline. Can you see that? Because my gallery thing is blocking it, but I think you can see it. I don't think I can move it. I'm gonna,
We can see your nip.
okay, I was gonna, now it's frozen. Sorry. Ah. Okay. Okay. Waistline, baseline. You don't have to write this on yours. I'm just showing you where I'm at. I think you can see my lines underneath. That's what's nice about rodeo too. Okay. Also, what's nice about rodeo paper is it doesn't have a ghosting. Slow, very slight ghosting. Yeah, it does have ghosting, but it doesn't bleed through. So you can put some good ink on there and watercolor even, and it won't go through. Okay. Not that you want to know that. Okay, put my pen down, line my pen up. Upstroke for the J. Start with the stroke number 1. Start letting up. Cross at the baseline. Draw your circle and fill it in. Don't make it any wider than the shade. Upstroke. Stroke number 1 on the slant line. When you go back to practice these, try lifting up every time you get to the bottom line. It makes really nice letters. I'll show you on this one. Okay, the G is an upstroke. Just like you're doing an A. You might want to go up. Let up as you get towards the bottom, and you want some nice negative space in there. So basically, you know how to do these because you've done the other ones. So Y is a number 4. And number 1. Oops, look at that. No negative space at all there, so that's not going to work. Stroke number 4. You've got to come out on the slant line on that. There, I got negative space. Let up. You don't want any place where a bunch of shades are all converging on each other because you want nice airy letters. Then number 4. Let up. Now here's a problem that I have sometimes. I sort of kind of curved a little bit right here, and I want it straight on the slant line. I do that with my B's sometimes too. I didn't when I was showing you, but be careful you don't curve your B. Don't do this. Or your L. You want that on the slant line. Okay, so Z has got kind of this weird little beginning. It looks like that. Okay, so Z is quite a pretty little letter, and you don't want these too close. Oh, I didn't do a Q. That's why I put that Q at the end. I forgot the Q, which is just like an A or a G. Notice I'm going slow. That's the hardest thing, to slow down. You really want to slow down. And make 6 bad ones and leave them there. And then on the next one, don't do that again. And I was showing the narrow part of the P and the F at the end there. And okay, let's talk about lifting. So if I was going to do an A and lift it, I'd stop there. Then,
You're off screen, Jan.
oh, sorry. Okay, so if I was going to do an A and lift it, I would stop here. And then it doesn't, you can't tell I stopped, but oh my gosh, what a more beautiful letter. If I was going to do an E and lift it, I would go up and over. I would lift it here. I would lift it here. And then go. It just really makes you stop and think about where you're going next. So the word that most alphabets, a lot of alphabets have you write is a good practice for spacing is minimum. They say don't dot your I's until you're finished with the whole word. So I shouldn't have done that, but because it ruins your rhythm. So if you can try writing minimum, remember to slow yourself down. Remember to just stop, press your pen down, and then draw it down. Take your time. And then turn it upside down and you'll see anywhere that your spacing is off. So turn it upside down and take a look. Hello, puppy.
Jan, did
All
you
right.
do a Z?
The Z, as in Z.
Yeah. Did
Okay.
I miss it or?
So around like that. And then think of it as in a parallel universe. So if I was going to go parallel, I would have to we're thinking parallel all the time. So I was a little worried about not being able to get all that. And here's a bookmark that somebody made me, which you all could do easily because you know how to manipulate the pen. Anytime you have a letter that's a flourish that's going that way, you would turn your paper to make that. But I forgot who made this for me. I'm so sad. Just an idea. I teach pointed pen. I've taught it for 5 years at the U. And so this is the first page that I give out. If you want my Gmail, it's right there. You just write it with your pen. And what I generally do, we take 2 weeks to go through what you guys, 2 nights of 4 hours to do what you guys just did in less than an hour, barely an hour. So be patient. If you want to get this hand, here's some of the things that I want people to remember when they're learning it is you've moved more from the shoulder and you're creating the muscle memory. Hold your pen lightly, breathe, slow down. That's a big one. Begin with a warm up. And then I always date my pages so I know when I do them. So this, if you do it this way, it'll give you the character or look of the hand. If you know how to do this, it will really help you with your pointed brush.
Yeah. Can I ask a question, Jan?
Absolutely.
Every
Yes.
one of those descenders, the J, the Y, the Z, the Q, do they all go all the way down to that descender line?
They do.
Because it,
Thank you.
okay.
Yes.
Great.
Yeah, they're down on mine. I just didn't draw the line very good.
They're very pretty.
So I can write out a word if you're interested in writing a word, because that's when it gets tricky. So if you'd like me to write anything, a word you want to write,
Of course we do.
That would be great.
what would you like, Carol?
Don't put me on the spot.
I'm sorry, I'm just
No,
easy
no, I'm
going.
teasing.
So.
Say supercalifragilistic, right? No.
Do soiree.
Yes, that's right. Soiree. That's a great.
Okay, S-O-R, how do you spell it?
Soiree.
I should know that because I know a little bit of French, but I've forgotten it all. Okay. My pen's not writing here. Have you wiped your pen off? Because it really helps to keep wiping it. Now, the finest hairlines you can get with oak gall ink, but it actually ate the end of my pen off. All the metal is like wonky. Spell it again. S-O-I-R-E-E.
SOI. R-E-E.
Let's try it with both R's and see what happens. If I'm gonna make my E tiny like that, I want them both like that. So sometimes I make them wider. So, shoot there. Let's try the other R. I don't know if this is gonna work or not.
You're going to be off camera in just a second.
Thank you. Remember to make your O big so it doesn't look smaller than the other letters. Oops. I wasn't thinking. Let's see. Okay, I messed up. The secret on the S is to go over far enough with that angle so that you can have it slanting correctly. Now I really got to think right here. I don't know, something like that.
That is awesome.
I have a word for you.
Yes.
Truffle.
I think I can tell.
Truffle.
Ah, you want to see the double F.
Yep. Followed by an L.
I might have to do it a couple of times. It really does help to think of the letter forms rather than letters. You can make the F's different sizes too. Now we can play around with, if you're going to do modern calligraphy, you can intertwine and have lots of fun. And there's probably a million ways you could do this. And Jane, also sometimes I cheat and do a little square up there if you've seen me do that. If I was doing something really fine, I might you just wiggle your pen a little bit and it makes that square top. So now I'm thinking. I don't know. I'd have to play with it. That didn't work out.
It's a hard word.
You could just have one be like they do in the Universal Penman, which is this is what they do. I can't remember. I have to look at it. Yeah, I can't remember. Sorry. You got me. Nope, I would do it like this. Without
Jan,
this
I've got
flat.
a question.
Yeah.
So how important is it to work on squaring off the ends of your letters? Like mine are all round.
One of the things I do sometimes is I just move my pen just a tiny. Did you see me do that? It depends on your nib. Okay, let me show you. This nib, the Hunt 22. Oh my gosh, I can get the most wonderful square top. Where did it go? This nib, the Hunt 22, gives me the most beautiful. If the hairlines are smaller too. I don't know if you can see the difference. It's like a different story with the Hunt 22. You can see the difference.
So a lot of it has to do with your paper and your nib.
Yeah, I think more the nib, because I tried it with 4 different nibs. The other one, I got almost perfect squares with the Brausa EF66. Oh my gosh, I can get the most beautiful. Look at how nice and square I can get that.
Bit off camera. There you go. Oh, Jan, you're awesome.
I just worry, you know, I criticize myself more than anybody else. Good. But they say it's easier to criticize than it is to draw one creative line.
You're right.
So you got to run your own race, right? I just wrote down a cool quote by
We've got a question. Is there a standard width to try and attain between each of the letters and then between the words?
The words are about an O. Let me get I was going to show you that example. Here's a really cool example of Singer Bloser writing. And I had it and then I flipped to this other page and lost it. But so the Inman's Journal has really wonderful examples. And if you go on IMPEF, you can actually
Do you go to the IMPEF conference, Jan?
the IMPEF.com. Is that what you were asking?
I just wondered if you went to the conference.
Oh, yes, I did. I went to the one in Portland. It was awesome.
Are they having the one this year in Omaha?
They're having one this year, but I don't want to go to Nebraska really. I'd like to go to Atlanta. That's next year. Well, darn if I can't find that. I apologize. I had it all ready to show you. Where did I put it? I've only got. My next class I'm teaching is Gothic, so I'm into the Gothic right now. And I'm right in the middle of a fountain pen and ink class, and it is a blast. I got ink all over my fingers, if you've noticed. Maybe I can find this real quick, sorry, while you're practicing. I was trying to stay within the time constraint. Because I know some people have to go, so if you have to go, no worries.
Okay, I have another question.
Yes.
And maybe you addressed it at the beginning and I wasn't focused in. Why some letters like the M and the N and the Y and the R, that one R, have the loop, is it stroke one or stroke two at the beginning or stroke
Yes.
four? But the U and the W do not.
It's because it depends on what's coming before it and one after it, because just logically, if you're going to do a word with a U and have that, this kind of the stroke number two.
You're off camera.
So if I was going to write, you could do that, but it's not generally done. Sorry, I'm really sloppy because I'm going really fast. Okay, so if you were going to do that, you can do that.
Because the V has it. I would have assumed that the U and the Y would, and the Y has it, doesn't it? Yeah.
So it's done both ways. My pen's sticking, sorry. It's both ways. So let's look at, here's an example. So for instance, this U can't have any of that because it's connected to the top of an O. There's an R in the middle of a word that somebody's asking about. Here's a different R.
Okay. I just wondered. Thanks.
A lot of it just depends on what's coming before it and what. So if it looks good with that spacing, I think you can do it either way. And the the way people learned how to do this was by looking at other people that did it. So, and every one of those is different. So you have some choices. Not on the P though. Although some people do make a closed P, and Matt wanted to see that. So I have seen a closed P, Matt. I mean, the police aren't going to get out after you if you do. But it's not a round hand P.
Okay, like for instance, write the word envy.
This is without thinking. Well, then you would do that on the V.
Okay, so you shortened that little bit of the Y
You
before.
do. When you put that little loop in there, you shorten the space. Is that what you're talking about?
Well, the little, I don't
Oh,
know what
this?
you call it, like the serif on the V to
Yeah.
the Y. Yeah.
Yeah,
you
because your eye, you're trying to space these out so it looks even.
right. Okay, thanks.
You guys are so kind to me. I had this example out to show you. It was just beautiful. Oh, it was in here. I remember. Notice on the G on straight, they didn't finish the G. The bottom of the P is kind of widened at the bottom, which is kind of cool looking. What else?
So Jan, it looks like the S goes above the waistline. Is that okay? Is that good?
Yeah, the push part of the S does.
Okay, thanks.
I should have said that. Thank you. Yeah, it does.
Which book is this?
This is, and it's only got a few pages of,
Oh, okay.
and you can get, I don't know if this is the same book that you can get from David Grimes, but I Am Pets, you can get this whole book and you could download it for yourself. It's just really huge, and most of it is not. Most of it is different hands. So there's only a tiny bit at the front, which is engrossing. And it was called engrossing, and they didn't even consider this a calligraphic hand in the 70s, 80s. It was really poo-poo. That's not calligraphy, because it was emulating the engrossing or the engraving into a copper plate. And then people were copying that, so they said that's not calligraphy, but now it's more accepted. Take away the art of writing from this world and you'll probably take away its glory. Like that. But anyway, this is really cool, and we'll go through the capitals and got some capitals. So I think these are a little more compressed. I tend to make mine wider. And this is nice illustration. It shows how you open up the pen. So this, I don't think this was that expensive. I don't remember. And then there's another one. I don't know when this was published. 2015, 1881. But it's more Spencerian. Matt might like that one. Do you have this one, Matt?
I have all sorts of stuff. I'm not sure. I'd have to look.
Real pen work.
It's mostly about flourishing, I think. So, but it's not Copperplate. It's more Spencerian. And then you guys know about the universal penman, right? Who does not know about the universal penman? Maybe raise your hand. Okay, let me show you because it's something you need. If you're interested in this pen, they make it in a smaller format now by George Bickham, and he was an engraver. And if you ever have a question about a letter, now notice a lot of that F is looped, but a lot like the top of the F is looped. The L is not looped. A lot of the things in here, the ascenders are not looped.
I have to go. So do we have our homework words and assignment quote?
That would be you, Matt, right?
Yeah, I'm buried like you.
Well, he gave it to us at the first.
Oh, I missed it.
Oh, no worries. The words of the, okay. The words are soiree in marriage. And the quote is, a distance is nothing when one has motive. And that's from Emma or Jane Eyre. I think it's from Emma. And then I would rather be happy than dignified. And that's from Pride and Prejudice.
And you're putting that on the website, right?
Yeah, Liz will be doing that.
I will. Thank
I'm
you.
inspired to do a lot of French words now. We.
This was wonderful. I've got to leave. Thank you, though. It's nice to see you all.
Thank you.
You did a great job.
Thanks, Jan.
I was so nervous.
Oh, you did great. It was so fun. Thank you.
That's beautiful marriage.
Thank you, Jan.
Thank you.
Jan, whoops, I missed the name of the last book. It was engraved by who?
George Bickham.
Bickham. He has a font on. There's a Bickham font on my computer.
I didn't know that. I didn't know there was a Bickham font.
I like it a lot.
I'll have to look at that.
Yeah.
It's a wonderful book. I mean, if you ever have questions about like putting two F's together.
I have it.
And it says right there, look at the word loss of temper. That's an old-fashioned S. It looks like an F.
Yes. It's a double. Yes, it is.
That's old school.
Yes, it is.
This was 1818.
Yeah. Brecken, were we recording this?
Yes, we were.
Oh, goody. Just mute out everything I said, okay? And it'll be an Oscar winner.
No
Okay.
control over that, but I will upload it to the Guild's YouTube account and send out that link.
Good job.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, I'm glad it didn't sound like a drunken sailor. Good.
You guys, is Jeanette Swain still on?
Is what still on?
Jeanette Swain, is she?
Yes, I'm still here.
I just need to point out that she wore Pride and Prejudice hair. Check it out, you guys. Isn't it amazing? Very
Just-
authentic.
Thank
Good
you.
job.
One day I would like to do like kind of like paint nights, you know, but do like write a Regency letter night.
Oh,
Where you have people come over and like do that and teach people how to do Christmas. So one day I'm going to do that.
Who was saying that? Who was saying that about writing?
Yeah, who's
Jeanette.
Yeah.
You know that there's a letter writing social today from Arizona
Oh, it's not.
where people get together and write letters.
Oh, that's
And I belong to that one and the Toronto Letter Writing Society.
very fun. Send me that information, would you?
Ah, in fact, it's supposed to start at 2.
Oh, I'm not gonna be able
Go
to
on,
make it.
do you have Instagram?
Yes.
Look them both up on, look at Arizona Letter Writers Society and Toronto Letter Writers
Okay.
Society. I'm gonna get out of this.
I just have one more quick question, if you're done with that.
Yes.
You talked about lifting your pen and starting over and how much more elegant the letters were if you do that. Do your lines always have to meet? That's my question.
Well, sometimes, most of the time you can't tell that someone did that, but I can show you a page where from The Educator, which is the magazine that the School of Zenarian Handwriting put out. Get copies of it if you go to IMPEF, but I'll show you a page where they actually demonstrate that.
Okay.
Of course, I always say I can do that, and then it takes me a minute to find it.
I just wondered if it was against the law.
No, actually, it's more
Sometimes when I
elegant.
make my A's, I wish that I could put on that after, because I don't always get the A right where I wanted it.
You could totally put it after, I think.
Okay.
There's no, who's gonna know? Let me show you the. I may not be able to find it. Sometimes I can just whip stuff out and sometimes. I can't. So there's these pages that you can get on IMPEF that are actually pages from the Zenarian School of Handwriting. 1888 is when it was started. Let's see. Stuff like this. If it says by the editor, oh, you can't see. Hold on. So I can pin that. So that's showing you the consistency.
Yeah.
And then there's one that shows how you lift the letters, lift the pen. There's all kinds of fun stuff. I mean, millions of stuff.
Well, thank you. You've been so thorough and you crammed a lot in a short amount of time. You did a great job, Janet.
Well, I'm worried that if people were starting out, it might be frustrating.
Oh.
Okay, here it is. Okay, so
Okay,
see where the C is and there's a little arrow. It's in the A, it's lifted. It was lifted there.
So the arrows are where they lift every time. Yeah. Wow.
So it says the pen should be raised each time it turns on the baseline. So I don't teach that way, but I show
I
it.
see.
But if it's skillful, it says
Yeah.
the breaks are concealed.
Wow. Great. Okay. Thanks for that. That's good.
Welcome. Oh, you can really see it up here where they left it open.
Mhm.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
hopefully I crammed enough in that you'll get a little farther than where you were.
Mhm.
But it's also great, like it's hard if you're not with people in a class, you can't see what they're doing. So you can't. So when I'm teaching the 6-week class, people can hold up their work and I can kind of get an idea of if they're getting it or not. But in this one, not.
I'm going to work on that K.
Yeah, the K. Look at the K on the speedball K. I don't like it much, but it's interesting. I have the speedball copy in here somewhere. Probably be easier to grab my speedball book. So is anybody, can I help anybody with anything? Is there anything I can help with?
I'm good.
I don't know what page the round hand is on. So check out the R next to the S. And the K, there's a K. So it's out a little farther and it kind of bends and blends into the bottom part. I like that one.
Mm-hmm.
But visually, it doesn't look like it takes up more space than the, or less space than the H, or more space. It doesn't look clunky.
Yeah. Cool. Those.
So, and I don't care for some of these capitals, but you kind of pick the ones you like, you know?
Yeah.
Those were written in 1929. It was called engrossing script in 1935 and roundhand script in 1929. So people call this alphabet lots of different things. And here it's got what we just did.
Mm-hmm.
And here you can see where they didn't touch on the M and the N, which is just a little more elegant.
They're so pretty.
And I don't have the new, there's Mike Kessig's. I don't have the new one. Did anybody get the new textbook?
If you ordered it directly from Speedball, you may have gotten it. If you ordered it from John Neal, you should be getting it on Wednesday.
Ah, good to know.
I
Good
ordered
to
it.
know.
I'm looking forward to it. Okay, I'll stop the recording.